G-Fest. Hey, welcome to Saturday, by the way. I'm sure you guys know the significance of this panel. We have the suit actor from 1984 to 1995 from Godzilla series. And of course, translating for us, Robert Scott Field, M11 himself. These guys have clearly known each other for a while, right? Anyway, we just want to get started, get cracking right on Satsuma's life in film. Satsuma-san, thank you so much for joining us today and for the convention. Can you tell us a little bit about like growing up and how you got into movies?
Oh, 小さい頃ね。小さい頃といっても、まずね、昔、学生時代、石原裕次郎の役割なんです。石原裕次郎ってみんな知らないですよ。知らないでしょ?
Do you know Ishihara Yujiro? There's a famous actor in Japan named Ishihara Yujiro, and he wanted to become like him, and so. You don't know him, do you?
No.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Who was he?
石原裕次郎と言ったら、日本の大スターですよ。
He was a famous movie star in Japan, kind of like a Gregory Peck or something like that. Yeah.
その人より薩摩ケンパチロの方が有名なんですよ。嬉しいね。
He was really famous in Japan, but he like says, you know, I think Ken-chan, that's me. I think I can become a bigger star than him.
So you love this actor's movies?
その人はね、ここに一括株式会社の大スターで、それでみんな憧れてた。
So yeah, he was a superstar in Japan. Had nothing to do with Godzilla, but a superstar in Japan, and so I want to be like him.
それでその一括に入りたいんだけど、なかなか入れない。当時うるさいから。
In the day, it was very hard actually to become a superstar. He wanted to join an agency somewhere, but it was very hard to get in.
そういうニューフェイスというものを当時やってたんです。
There was a thing they called new face. It's a way to bring in new people to become famous, but it was called the new face method.
スター養成所みたいなものですよ。
It's kind of like American Idol or something like that, but for movie stars. They're trying to find the newest face to bring them up to stardom.
それで写真を出して審査をね受けるわけですよ。
I got a nice picture taken and I sent it in.
1時、2時、3時とあるんです。
There's 3 steps that you have to go through. You have to pass to get up to the top.
当然1時でダウンね。No。1時でダメだ。
I screwed up from the very first step.
それでもうこれダメだと。
Maybe I'm not meant to be a movie star.
このぐらい妹ぐらいだから受けるわけがないんでね。
Well, you look at my face. All of a sudden, you thought about becoming a superstar. He says, he looks in the mirror and says, "Well, maybe this face will not get me to stardom after all."
だからもうしょうがないから諦めた。
And so I gave it up for a while.
で諦めて、社会人の製鉄会社に勤めてますね。
And then I started working at an actual average company in Japan.
当時は日本の三大鉄鋼社の一つ、川崎製鉄という。
It was a steel company. It was the 3rd biggest steel company in Japan at the time that I started working for.
そこへ就職したんです。
And I was employed by them.
それで、1年間、臨時校みたいなもんだから、1年間この成績が悪いと、臨時校で本採用にならないわけです。
And it's kind of like a temporary, they're fully employed, but it's kind of temporary. You have to prove yourself for the first year.
それでやっぱり薩摩の人間だから、暑いのには慣れてるから、その場所がね、製鉄所の、溶鉱洞からこう流れてくる、鉄を作る、鉄の鋼を作るところ。
He has always been a very hot person. He was really on fire all the time, and he's working in a steel plant, and that was very hot too.
成功増解色という。
Basically it's the place that actually takes the steel and makes it into a shape. That was the department that he worked for.
それを悪いものを全部捨てて、いいものばかりを生産して、200トンぐらいの蔵に入れて持ってくるわけです。
And so what they're basically would do, they take out all the impurities as it's still hot. They take out all the impurities and make something as perfect as possible.
そこが、職場で増解色。つまりね、鉄鋼の塊の形を作るんですね。
And basically, he was there to make the shape of, after the impurities had been taken out, he'd make the shape in the best perfect shape that he could of the steel, whatever it was they're making.
そうケースをね、インゴットケースをこう並べて、その鍋からね、注入するわけですよ。ちょっと、その固まるわけです。
As the steel comes out, it's liquid, and it comes in and starts becoming a shape, and then it starts getting harder and solider, and it starts adding up and getting taller and taller and bigger and coming into the shape that they want. But it's very hot there. I sweated a lot.
水の置き場があって、塩を振ってバーって水がガーッそれで走って本当だよ。
And there was salt on one side and water on the other, and he'd throw salt in his mouth and water, and he's moving to place to place. It was really hot, and so it's terrible.
そうしないと体が持たない。
Oh, I guess it's those. Yeah, he needed to drink water and eat some salt to keep all the what are those things?
Keep the
Impurities from himself inside his body. Yeah, yeah. He wanted, because of all the salt coming out of his body from the sweat, he wanted to put it back in, and so he just felt like he's just going to fall over every time he's working. So salt in, water in, sweat out. Salt in, water in, sweat out, make a piece of steel. So I don't think that needs explanation. I think, yeah.
そうなるともう仕事できないので、もう意地でね、仕事それを飲んでカッと入れちゃって、暑いんだから、そのインゴットケースの上をこう燃えてるわけだね、お湯だから。
Yeah, yeah. And so it continued, well, it just continued to eat salt and water, and then these things just kept getting bigger and bigger and hotter, and they're on fire. And
それでね、ある程度この固まってくると、蓋が置いてあるインゴットのケースの上に。で、蓋をしてこう、引っ張る。
As it gets to a certain size and a certain shape, he has to pull it out. He pulls it out with some kind of tool. And there's a timing thing to it. Before it gets to the permanent shape that it is, they have to pull it at the right time. So there's always a timing to pull it at the right time before it completely hardens. And so they do it many, many times over and over again. So it's red hot. It's kind of like you're looking for a Godzilla thing where it's really hot and your feet are really hot and the whole thing is bright red. And your feet are in between. You have a very small space to put your feet without stepping on these things. And he was wearing the getar, the special Japanese sandals.
Wooden sandals.
Yeah, the wooden sandals. He was wearing the wooden sandals while he was working like this. And so you're working with fire and you got wood sandals on. Not a good thing, probably. Yeah. These safety boots and stuff, because it has steel inside the tip of it, it's too hot to wear safety boots because it's just too hot. So he put on the geta instead.
と下駄の方がね燃えてきてだんだん減ってきてるとそんな絶対よ
At the beginning, the get there actually, they're all kind of like on little stilts. They're really tall sandals. And because it's so hot, he starts shrinking his size because it started burning out the bottoms of the sandals. And so the biggest problem he has with getting new get all the time. So he was busy trying to get this piece of steel into the right position before it completely hardened, and at the same time he had to keep changing his geta. Kept him very busy. And he had to be very quick. The whole thing had to be quick, so he had his own system. Would you like me to explain that? It's the truth, people! And making a long story short, I became very good at handling hot things. I didn't know it would become Godzilla, but you know, it really helped with that first job. Yeah. We owe it to the steel company for making Mr. Godzilla for us. Yes.
So, what happened? Did you end up leaving the steel company, or did it bring you into Toho?
それで、1年間無遅刻無欠勤1日もやった
For the whole year, the good thing about it is for the whole year, he was never late. He didn't take a day off. He stayed for the whole year.
そしたら本採用になった本採用臨時校から社員になった
And because he done so well the first year, instead of it was just temporary for the first year, he did so well they wanted to become a member, an actual employee of the company.
それ本当の話よ
This is a real story, people. Just wants to make sure you know.
Real life stuff.
そしたらね、その会社は神戸にあったの
This was a company in Kobe. Yeah, they're famous for steel. Yes.
そしたら千葉の方に
It was in Kobe. They wanted me to go to Chiba, which is closer to Tokyo than to Kobe.
大きな製鉄所を作るわけです
It's a big company and makes big things out of steel.
それで白羽の矢が立ってお前千葉へ行けと
And so the people above me says, we want you to go to Chiba.
真夏だね真夏に行った
And so,
真夏暑い時
so in the middle of summer, they sent me to another hotter place in middle of Chiba.
そこ行ってまた業界職でね同じようなことやってこのでかい人やってたわけだ
And basically, they made me do the same thing in a bigger version of it.
体力は体力は
I've got a lot of power, I've got a lot of stamina.
そしたら仕事が終わって3交代だから終わって寮に入ってるから寮に入ったら
He lives in the company-owned apartments. He lived in company-owned apartments, and there was 3 shifts. And he would handle one shift, and he'd go back to the apartment.
そしたら新聞を見たら日活の人気ですの入ってたね新聞の中に
And even though before he had tried to become a new face by sending his picture, he had gone to the steel company in Chiba. As his shift was over, he went back to his apartment. He saw in the newspaper they were having another new face audition type of contest or something. Yeah.
よせばいいのにまたそこに出しちゃったわけだね
And he said, well, I'll probably get the same result, but I sent in my picture again.
そういうので夢がまだね消えてなかった
And even though I thought I'd given it up, my dream was still in my mind and heart.
よせばいいのにまたそれを出した
I should just forget it, but I sent in my stuff again.
そうしたら二次試験が合格したわけだ
And this time there was only 2 tests he had to go through, and he passed the tests. Yeah! But he doesn't want you to clap yet. It's still not where he wanted to be.
喜んで言ったらばよし合格だ、 じゃあ三田さんの養成所に入れということになって養成所がそれで誰でもよかったんだよね。
He says the reason the applause is so quick is because there were some people who he shouldn't have passed, and so could have been anybody. It wasn't because I was special. Anybody could have passed those tests.
で鹿児島弁が抜けない俺が通ったわけだと誰でもいいんだった。
He speaks a different type of dialect. It's not the Tokyo dialect. He speaks
そうそう鹿児島弁
Kagoshima. He's from originally from Kagoshima, so he speaks Kagoshima dialect, and he couldn't get that out of his system, of course.
その日活の中の養成所に一応入って、努力したのね。
But he did join, and he was thinking that everybody could pass this anyway. But he got in. He started in the program, and he tried to get rid of his accent.
そしたらその教えてる先生があいつ熱心だということで舞台公演をやるんですよ養成所でね。そしたらその選んで舞台公演やるからそれをじゃあお前やれということになって主役ですよ。
And as he was trying to get rid of his accent, the people above him, who were in charge of the air, they were looking at him and saying, "Man, this guy's really diligent. He's trying to do the best that he can." At the time, they were doing stage performances and stuff like that, and so seeing that he is really diligent, trying to master whatever it is he's trying to master and get rid of the accent. The people above him says, "We want you to come in and be on the stage." And all of a sudden, he became the main actor of these stage performances.
そしたら
And he said, well, and again, you can't do anything stupid when you're the main actor. And so he felt the pressure, but he knew that he had to. And he's always very direct with everything. And so, yeah, so he knew that he had to become the best that he could for this. Same with Godzilla. You have to be very diligent with your doing. You're going to attack whatever it is you're going to attack right in front of him. Yeah!
撮影者の中で公演をやるんですよ。全部こういうお客さんを呼んで。
Even at the studios, they would always have these stage performance type things in the studios. They invite people to come in to watch what they're doing. It's not an actual shoot, but it's performances, and so people would come to watch them.
そしたら、本社の日活の俺方とかね、監督とかプロデューサーみんな見に来てたわけだ。
And even the producers, the directors of the company themselves would come to watch these performances.
あれは誰だということになっちゃって、ちょっと目立ったのかな。
And maybe I stuck out a little bit because they apparently kept asking about me.
それで本社のスタッフにね、人がいけないところに呼ばれていったら、
And for the first time, at the headquarters, some of the big wigs came in, and I got to go in a place where it says only certain people are allowed to go in, and they let me in. And there was a script sitting there on the table. There's a guy named Matsuo. He was the director at the time. And right out of the blue, they just said, here's the script, read it. We want you to play this part. I was very surprised. I couldn't believe that they were going to actually hand me this script. And it's a good part, too.
主役をつけて回るヒットマンなのよ。怪獣じゃない。普通の顔。
It wasn't a kaiju. You could actually see my face in this one, so that was good. But he got to attack the main actor or the main player. I knew nothing about kaiju in those days. So I was very happy because they were going to use me, and I got to show my face too.
What year are we talking about right now?
25. So what are you looking at? Where they 60, 68, 1968. Yep. Okay.
それで喜んで待ってきたからね。そしたら所属がまたその下の方の日活芸能の方の所属で その一曲の専属のレッツゴーやとか入っちゃったもんだから。
And I got to do that. I got to show my face. It went through very well, and I became one of the. It was the lower section of the group, but I became one of the lower, not employees, but actors of the lower. There's an A and B or type of group, and he became one of the actors of the lower group.
And what group was this? Was this the?
うちはね、養成所からそうそう1軍2軍あって、2軍の方だからそれが1軍のような仕事をやるようになったから今度は日活の上の人たちが足を引っ張るわけですよ。あいつはダメだからね。
He's not really telling me exactly which one it is, but it's the lower. If there's an A and B, it's the B, and so he's in that. But because he got this great part, even though he's in the lower group, he got this great part, and so all the other actors and some of the other people are trying to pull him down, saying, "Man, why are you giving it to him, man?" And so he's been teased by a lot of the other actors.
そのヒットマンの役が、日活のその上部の連中が俳優が反対しちゃって。自分のところでそういうふうになっちゃったもんだから、で結局役はおろされなかったんだけど、ここに ABC になっちゃったら、A になっちゃった。小さくなっちゃった。
And even in the script, they were getting him this certain part, which is a great part. Many of the other actors in the A group, they got upset about this whole thing, and so they said that he's not good enough to play this part. So they got really upset about it, and so to keep everybody happy, they didn't cut the part out, but they made it very small. So he had this great chance at the beginning, and it became a very small, but he still had the chance. But it was action. I gave you some action, so that was good. He was on the action, also the acting part as well. So he's in the action as well. So he could do special effects, stuff like stunts as well. And so at the time, even though he thought his big chance had come because of the other actors being against that and stuff, the big part became small, and so everything from that time on was very small for quite a while. But I know I passed the test this time, and I thought, no, it wasn't my face, so I said, I'm not going to lose this time, guys. I'm going to continue on. So every day, bits by bits, I just kept going. I didn't worry about those people who were against me. I figured that if I continued what I did, sooner or later my chance would come again. So I tried to hit the, no, he's not hitting the people. And because I continued to do what I did, sooner or later I did stick out in the crowd again, and the director saw that, and they made a contract with me from then on. Nice, yeah. Yeah, nice, yeah. Yeah, the hard work paid off, yeah. This is a life story for all of you. If you continue to do something, sooner or later you will get it. Yeah. So in that company, even though there were people still against him the whole time, he was the first one to get a contract to work. And so he's the very first one. Wow. And so after you got the contract, you think you could be excited about this now, don't you? And then all of a sudden there were parts that were starting to come my way. even his father was also excited. Apparently his father was against him in the past, but now he's very excited for him as well.
で会社を辞めたと言ってなかったわけだ。
He didn't tell his father that he had quit the steel company. So I said, I'm finally coming up and I'm finally going up in the ranks. He didn't tell him that it wasn't the steel company.
言ったらね、辞めろと決まってるから。
He knew that if he told him, his father would have said, don't quit the steel job.
そしたらね、喜んでいたら、あとは会社の方がおかしくなってくる。一括営業ね。
As soon as he got the contract and these great jobs were starting to come in, the company itself was having hard times.
コロナの変更しちゃったわけ。コロナの方へ。
There are a lot of children here, so I can't really say it, but the company itself, Nikatsu, was doing all these different movies, action movies. It went into another area. The other big convention centers, sometimes they have those. I think you understand what I'm talking about? Yeah, but leaders of the kids.
そしたら、やるから、お前の話になるってね。
But I want to perform, I want to do my best. I said, well, why don't you take your clothes off? But it might have been a good part, so you actually thought about it. I was thinking, should I not?
せっかく石原裕次郎に憧れて。
The big star of Japan, I wanted to be like him, so maybe this is part of what I have to do. I still want to be an action star, so maybe this is the start. Kind of action, yeah. But the Nikatsu, the company itself, because of where it was heading, it started to go crazy, yeah.
それでどうしようかと悩んだんだけども、結局は、いやちょっといいことでね。
And when I finally thought of it, after looking at myself and thinking about it, becoming naked is really not my cup of tea.
そしたらその頃ね、三船プロダクション。
And at that time, as you just mentioned, Kyle, the Mifune production came up to me.
先輩がいて、じゃあお前、一回おかしくなったら、うちへ来いということで、
And seeing as you don't want to take off your clothes, so one of his friends at Mifune said, why don't you come to Mifune?
世界の三船のね、用心棒じゃないけど、これ、好きでねまた。
And everybody knew who Mifune was, and the Yobonjin, the bodyguard, is that what it's called?
We're talking about Toshiro Mifune.
Yeah.
Very famous Japanese star.
Yeah, and so he, again, like the other superstar that he looked up to, he said, wow, that's a great action star and everything else. So becoming like him would also be great. And so he, again, he was able to get in there, and then they started doing action. So maybe you've seen him on his videos on Facebook, he's beating the crap out of these bamboo poles and stuff. They would put him through that kind of preparation.
で、三船プロダクションと東宝映画は10分の間というか、仲がいい。
At the time, Mifune and Toho were very close friends, and so they had a lot of connections and doing things together.
だから三船プロと契約して、ね、一応ギャラもらって、それから東宝の作品へ出だした。
And so he also was able to make a contract with Mifune's production, and they were close to Toho, and so there was work that was going to come. It wasn't a very good part, but it was a start. For instance, I would just jump into the water and they say cut, and that was the end of the scene. But because I continued to do it and everybody could see my diligence, I was sticking out in the crowd. And so, yeah. And as he continued to do these small parts, you just continue without complaining, just continue doing it. He stuck out in the crowd. One day he came back and he got a call from the Toho themselves, and then they that,
それはね、長いね。いや、だけどそれ仲間。それはね、ディズニープロダクションで、昔からそれ、皆さんに絡んでアクションやったり、そういう芝居、必要会というのが。
Okay, there's a group that was in Mifune, and he said somebody's name, and it went right by. But anyway, because the guy, him saying you should come in, the Toho people himself, all of a sudden got interested in him.
で、そこのリーダーが、かの用心棒の竹内。
And the sensei, the teachers in charge of these certain movies, the Yobin, Bojin, and everything like that, he's the one who was interested in him coming.
で、そこでもね、もうとにかくやろうということで。
And yaro, the word yaro means I'm just going to do it in Japanese, and so whatever was going to happen, I was just going to do my best. So yaro, and so it started getting closer to Toho because of these good timing situations.
やるぞってこうなったわけだ。東宝撮影所で。
And so the exact same thing when Toho called him up, says all I got to do is just yaro, you just got to do it. And so he's very direct, and he knew the goal was in front of him, and he went for it.
そうしてると意外とあんた誰だバカみたいなこと言ってるけど誰だあれはっていうことになっちゃったからね。
And so again, he would stick out in the crowd and they say, who's that fool over there? But it was himself, and people, even though they said that, he would stick out in the crowd, so people kept asking about him.
もうそれしかないから、体でやろうなんてね、もう何でも出なくて。
And so whatever it is that using your body or for action or whatever it is, there's one thing that he can do well, and that was the action and moving with his body. So he had confidence in that. So he just went straight for that.
そしたら指名で来たわけだ。人間プロダクションで中山をちょっとよこせ。
And so the word came from Toho to the Mifune production that let him come to Toho.
で先輩を差し置いてあいつをよこせということになったもんだから、そのユーネプロの芸能部長がお前出たいと言うわけですよ。
And the word was that he got it from the bigwigs in Mifune's production. Says, hey, they're interested in you. There's probably a perfect part for you as well.
当時撮影所の近くに住んでましたから。
I live near the studios itself.
喜んで撮影所行ったね。
And I was very happy because I got to go to the Toho studios.
ハッピーハッピーっつってもう行ったんですよ。でキャスティングを決める芸人っていうのがあるね。
There's a casting group area there, and so they go in there to decide what the next casting for the next movie will be.
そこ行ったら、お、来たか。今ってんだよな、練習は。お、来たか。
And it just seems like the cycle came again. He finally get another chance. He walked in there, and then there's all these guys, these really cocky people who've already, they're famous and this and that, and so it all started again. But he was finally in the doors. And these cocky people, they looked at me, but they said, the director's waiting for you, so go over there. And then when you feel like the director's calling you, you know something good is going to happen. You probably doesn't need an explanation, but yeah, and so he got himself really cleaned up. He was very looking nice, and he went and popped and knocked on the door. And so he knocked on the door, and before opening it, he said his name and where he was from, and then he opened the door and walked into the room. Because it should be a good role that he's going to get. First impression is the best impression, the number one important impression, so I had to be very big, very strong, and show them what I was there for business. I came from Mifune. Thank you for inviting me, and this is my name. Please accept my regards. I did my little speech. I was looking good. I was walked in, a big voice. I thought my first impression was great. Director's looking right at me, and he's not saying anything. Just sitting there. He's just moving his head up and down, but he's not saying a word. And so because he was not saying anything, I asked him, I said, is there a good part for me? He's not going to say something, I'm going to say something. Director, please, explain it to me. And then finally, he opened his word and he said one word, he said, pitari, which means perfect. And he said it was perfect. Oh, the only word he said was perfect. I was very happy. I was really happy, and he said it was perfect for the part, but then again he said, wait a minute, I don't know what the part is. What is the part? And so, having been in all these little parts, and his face was showing he was going to become the next superstar, and we finally found out what is the part. He says, well, you're going to play Hydra. Wait a minute, I don't even know what a Hydra is. It's something that came from this outer space and hit Shizuoka, and it's there in Shizuoka. Yeah. And it's picking up garbage and stuff on its way, all the way through the city. And he's going to take on Godzilla, but any monster that has to eat garbage on the way to get bigger, I just don't know about this. I was very surprised. But then the director he wouldn't shut up and everything. You're perfect for the part. You're perfect for the part. And now I'm not as happy as I was before. And then he just simply asked, will you do it for us? Please wait a second. Oh, and he went home. He's going to think about it. So I went to Mifune Production, I went to the head office, and I went and told them what just happened. And so they said, yeah, well, we think it's a good idea. I mean, it is the enemy of Godzilla, and you'll stick out whether they see your face or not. At least try one movie. Try to be in at least one movie. You should just do it. The bigwigs of the Mifune Production told me to do it. Really? And he says, well, is the money good? Doesn't matter, just do it. Okay, well, if you're telling me to and they want me to, okay, I'll at least do one movie, okay, just one movie, just one. And that was Hydra. course, I didn't know what Hedera was. I didn't know anything about the suits or anything like that. So when I had to go there and had to fit me for it.
皆さんもご存知の通り、怪獣を作る倉庫がところもあって、伝統のね、東方伝統ですね。
As you all know, that Toho is legendary for making these type of suits.
ここ行ったら、身長とかそういうのがね。
So they're taking all my sizes, my height, and everything else.
全部サイズ測るんです。
They take everything, all the sizes, everything. Yeah.
すべて測る。
Even around his wrists, around his whole body, everything. They take all the sizes.
そうそう。これ作って、あつらいだね。あつらいですから、よし。これであつらい作って、ある程度できると、今度は合わせを着ぐるみ合わせをやるから。
And there's the stages of making the whole thing. So they take all the sizes to make something in the beginning, and then he has to go and get fitted for that, and then again and again.
で、お呼びがかかって造形に行くんです。
And they called me to come again, and they had one of the I don't know, it was the end product, one of the first parts of the product there that he had to go and see.
当時はね、造形でも職人がいてね、結構新人だからやれとか、はいとかね、すごいんですよ。
Because he was new, he didn't know anything was going on. And actually, that's a good thing because you don't know what's going on, so everybody tells you what to do. So.
特にね、造形の責任者である安丸君がいるんですよ。安丸さん知ってると思いますよ。鬼安っていうんだけど、いや本当はね、安丸知ってるじゃないかな、造形作ってる。
I'm sorry, it's a famous person who made the different models and stuff at the time. I don't know his name actually, but somebody famous was making these. Yeah. And as they would call me in every so often, the very famous, one of the masters of these, the makers of these suits, he would be drinking sake as he was making these things. He would be drinking and making, drinking and making, drinking and making. And he's got the suit on, and this guy's drinking and just adding things, so he's basically forgetting he's even in the suit. But it's really heavy, and so he starts moving a little bit as well, and this guy's drunk, so he's moving anyway, so it doesn't look like he's moving at all because he's moving. And he says, wait a minute, stop moving!
So,
Okay, the master's name, his own name, but they would call him Oninasu. It's kind of like a demon because he was always drinking, always ripping on us about all kinds of stuff. Now I understand what he's trying to say. Okay. Even now they use the name rarely, very many times because every time they think he's a demon now too, or the guys who are making the suits are demons too. It doesn't matter who's inside or outside the suit, one of them becomes the demon. The same master, the suit maker, he started with Hedera and up to 1984 Godzilla, so he made a lot of them. He's still alive now, and he's since, of course, retired, but I see him every so often as well. When it gets down to basically the guy that's inside the suit has to be very quiet and not move around actually. But I should have been smarter because I started moving around, and that's why they always got on my case.
最後の方はゴジラ日記になってる。その頃から文学生なんか
One thing I did at the time, though, after all these experiences, I started writing a journal about everything from the position of being inside the suit and looking out through the holes at what they're doing around me. And so a lot of times you forget I'm even in the suit, so you get a lot of good material for your book, for your journal. And so he's go, oh, I'm going to use this against you. That's good. Yeah. So he writes it all down. So, and even after he became Godzilla as well, he continued to write the journal.
それで特撮映画の場合は男女変わらずそれに関わって、みんな手術をね、そうすると中には時代でのね出たきれいな女の子も来るんですよ。
Again, he's inside the suit. People forget he's there. And every so often, really good-looking women come to the studio as well. And he's inside the suit. They don't know he's inside the suit.
そうなんですよ。それで、思っちゃうわけだ。そうしないと苦しくてやってられない。
But he's really happy that these good-looking girls would come because it's so hot inside and he's not supposed to move. They're still fitting him for another one of these suits and stuff like that. But he looks at a good-looking girl and he forgets for a moment that he's really hot. But then he gets hot in another way. And he writes it all down.
それで書いてたら取材が来るんでしょ。新聞社がいろいろ来るんですよ。
And he's writing all these things down, and every so often he gets interviewed. Some newspapers and stuff.
そうそう、その時にちょっと出したら担当者来るって中の人が中から外を見た世界に書いてありました。言った人がいない。
And whenever he'd be interviewed by some people, they would say, well, what do you think about this? And he'd bring out his journal and pop in there and say, just read that right there. I said, wow, this is pretty cool. A guy from inside talking about the outside world. This is pretty cool.
それを見た編集者が、雑誌の編集者が、面白いですね。これ、ここにしましょう。なったわけです。
And so a lot of these things actually became articles from a lot of stuff that was written in his journal. So, yeah. There's the one page has a certain amount of kanji right on it, so he was writing about 40 pages. I'm sure he has more, but 40 pages is the time for these things. Yeah. Okay, all right. But he had everything in the journal, so he was able to show these people very easily what he had and things they liked. They used things they didn't like. They could take out very easily. It was very easy to interview him because all the information written down. ちょっと皆さんの質問ちょっといろいろ聞きたい。
これで終わり。あとは面白いけど。
He says that the story goes on and on and on, but we're running out of time, so I'll stop for now.
I did want to ask one question specifically about you. This was your first time working as Hedra, right? Sorry, your first time in a kaiju suit playing Hedra. It was also your first time. Was it your first time meeting Nakajima-san?
そう。中島先輩と初めて会った。
Yes, it's the first time I met Nakajima as well when he was Hedra.
当時はまだ中島さんも元気だからね、私も当選者だから。
Inside or outside the suit, he always walked like he had something to prove. And everybody forgave him because he was Godzilla. Yeah, you know what? But I had various things I was thinking about, but because I was the new face there, I couldn't really say anything. I said, yeah, that's cool, yeah. Hedra's really heavy anyway, so it's very hard for me to move.
だからゴジラが主体になって動くからそれは鼻息はないわ中島さん。
And because Hydra isn't able to move, there's no way he can really become an enemy to Godzilla, is what Nakajima said to him. Even in or outside the suit, he's fighting with him, so that's right.
だけどね、やってるうちに、いや、だから怪獣エンジンについて中島さんには聞かなかった。意地がある。
It didn't matter what I was. Of course, Nakajima was the original. He was the pro. I was the amateur at the time. But when it came to the kaiju fights and stuff, I became my own man, even in Hydra. So I did it my way.
And then you played Zaigan in the movie immediately after.
そしたらね、ヘドロやったら、もうダメだと思ったら、もうそれがいいってね、抜擢だね。特撮監督の今の中野監督な、中野翔慶だな。
And doing Hydra, because he wasn't able to move very much, he didn't think he did actually done a very good job because he wanted to do more, but he couldn't move very much. But again, the word pitari came out, which means perfect, perfect, perfect. And so that led to the next job. And of course, then Gaigan came, so it was just the next step. And so he had thought he had done a great job, but they had thought he did, that he was perfect for the next one. So Gaigan was the next step.
一本だけだと思ってたけど、だんだんね、やっぱりほら、みんな働いてる。ね、もう汚れて働いてるんですよ。動きでやりますから。もう口じゃないから。行動でうまくいかないとも失敗だから、それみんな一生懸命やる。そういうのが見てて伝わってきたから。
And when he had said he was going to do one movie, he didn't want to do more than one, he just wanted to do one. But when the second story came, and during the minute of the first making as well, he saw all the people working so hard, getting dirty, sweating, trying to help him move in his action, trying to make the whole thing work. He saw that and it hit him in the heart. And he knew that these people were trying the hardest to make the best thing they could, and he had to do his best. And that's why, well, I'm not going to finish with one after all. I think I'll continue on. So.
We don't have very much time left, unfortunately, and we haven't even gotten to you playing Godzilla yet. I guess for the audience, we're just going to keep going, right? Yeah! Okay, so very quickly, can we talk a little bit about you playing Godzilla in the Heisei era?
I'll make it short. I'll make it short. We don't have a lot of time. I'll make it short. After the 84th Godzilla, the Heisei era came. And from 84 on, I was Godzilla, and I was considered the Heisei Godzilla. Mr. Kawakita and his daughter is here this year as well, but you remember Mr. Kawakita, of course? Yes. He was the one making the first movie for the Heisei era. He was really worried about the whole thing, and he was starting the whole Heisei Series. There was a time when Toho was thinking about continuing or getting rid of Godzilla as well, and so there's a lot of pressure on Mr. Kawakita at the time. And he knew that he had a lot of pressure, but he never got, there was no call to him to come and play Godzilla, so he was worried that he wasn't going to even be part of the Heisei series. And when he thought he was all said and done, when nothing was going to come, he called me. And at the time, because he hadn't called me yet, I really hated the guy. And the director himself as well, when they got together to fight, he called him. Of course, he didn't really hate him, but the director himself also said, "Yeah, I don't like you much either."
もう大丈夫で日本のねマスコミはそれからスタッフも川北浩一と薩摩健八郎は天然の中だから、もうあれはちょっとみんな気をつけた方がいいとなってた。
It was more the face value type of thing where he didn't call me, so I hate that guy. He was just kind of saying it out of his mouth. He didn't really mean it. And Kawakita said the same thing back to him. I don't like you either. But the staff and the mass media, they got a hold of it and said, these guys really hate each other, so stay away from them.
なりそめはカットして、ね、撮影に入っていくと、お互い無駄に高いね。うっす。ね。で、控室も反対側に来てだから本当はね、あとでうっす、うっ。
They would the word os means good morning. It also means hello. How are you? They just say os, and so they actually didn't hate each other at all. But with the mass media and everything going, and it just so happened that his office was on the other side of the studio, and his place where he was also on the other side. So the mass media and the staff, of course, thought that they had done that on purpose to stay away from each other. And so we just walk by each other and go, os, os. We just say it with two words. Yeah, they're not saying much to each other, but we really didn't hate each other at all. So.
だけども、言い訳じゃないけど、言いますけど、本当は2人とも相手の気持ちが分かってて、わざとしてた。
But just to set the whole thing straight for all of you and for all the mass media in Japan as well, we didn't really hate each other at all. We just played what you guys were telling us to play.
それが編集部にはそういう勢いで切磋琢磨して。